In this video, I address the recent surge in the call for Adobe to bring their products to Linux. So I've gotten a lot of comments about this Adobe forum that has blown up. It's gotten just a crazy amount of traction. Here's a whole bunch of comments I've gotten on my channel just in the past 2 days. So I'm going to weigh in on this topic, whether or not Adobe's going to bring it to Linux or what's going on here. Okay, so in case you've been living under a rock in Linux land, real quick, here's the Premiere Pro uservoice.com thing that everyone is talking about. As you see, hey, do you want Linux support? More than 6,000 votes have voted yes, including myself, of course, because if Adobe did bring it to Linux, wow, it'd be incredible. And the next closest one's like 500. Now, he comes out and says, and the Linux Gamer actually did a good review of this, but the short and sweet is, hey, it's not easy to do, and it's gonna be a difficult task. And I wanted to just kind of talk about that for a second. He's basically come out and said that, yeah, there's a big outcry for it, and we should be starting to look at this again because there's over 6,000 votes. But just because it's on the top of their user voice doesn't mean that it has top priority. And he says, we're going to have a market team look at this. So the Linux Gamer, I thought, had kind of an optimistic view of it, and I think some other people have come out and spoken about it. Coming from business, I've been in business for about 15 years. I was a technician for quite a long while, and then moved into management where I was an IT manager or director for pretty much the past 11 to 12 years. And in those roles, I get to deal with company politics quite a bit. And I've been with big companies, very, very large companies, and I understand a lot of the terminology that's going on in this thing. And I don't want to crush anybody's hopes here, but it doesn't look good from that response. When someone says, I'm having a market team analyze this, that's code for I'm going to just sit on my thumbs and not do anything. I really hope they bring Adobe products. I do, but I don't like that response. And nobody likes that response, but the short of it is Linux has 1.54% market share of the desktop. If they're relying on a market outcome to tell them what they should and should not do, they're going to look and go, hey, it's 1% of the market. Who cares? And they're not going to just look right past it. I just want to come out and say that because of the comments I've been getting and saying, hey, it's going to happen. I'm like, no, not really. It's just not. I hope it does. I hope maybe a CEO or somebody steps in and goes, hey, I think Linux desktop might be the future or something like that. But honestly, until you really get into the Linux community, Linux desktop's not even talked about, not even in my job. Like, hell, I dealt with Linux for a decade. Let that sink in for a second. I worked on Linux server for a decade before I even bothered doing the desktop environment. Yeah, I'm real good in terminal. Awesome. You put the Linux GUI in front of me and I was just like, wow, I just finished the 30-day challenge and I was just like, this is crazy. Why did I never try this before? And that's me saying that. A guy that had been using Linux server for 10 years is just now getting into Linux desktop. I'm sure that's a little obscure just because of that, but it's something that you need to absorb. It's not mainstream. It probably will never be mainstream until there's somebody that does a considerable amount of marketing around it. So when it comes to SUSE and Red Hat, the two people that do have somewhat of a marketing team, a lot of their marketing is pivoted towards or pointed towards big business. And big businesses, they're talking to people like me that would make a decision to revamp their data center or something like that, there's a lot of money in that. I'm talking millions upon millions of dollars, and that is SUSE's and Red Hat's focus. It's not their desktop environment. Honestly, it's just an afterthought. The rest of them, it's mainly just passion projects for the most part. I mean, some of them, like Ubuntu, has tried to make somewhat of a business model out of it. I know in like 1604, they tried to partner with Amazon, and they got a bunch of flack for partnering with them and packaging the Amazon app directly on the desktop on the initial install. I remember there was a little bit of an uproar in the community and me just hearing about it vaguely. But overall, guys, I love everybody's enthusiasm and getting on them, staying on them in social media, Twitter, and also here. And honestly, if it drags on for a long time and a lot of the executives start to step in, that's when you might see some traction. But just from some guy that's checks user voice, he's not even going to bother taking that to his boss. It was just a complete non-starter for me. He's just going to ignore it. I doubt he even brings it to his director in this position. So that's just my opinion, being in business as long as I have, dealing with this stuff. I really hope it was different. I really wish that Linux Desktop had a lot bigger of a presence in the space, but it simply does not. I love Linux Desktop now that I've started using it, and I really hope more people start using it, but that's not going to happen until there's more adoption, and there won't be more adoption until there's actual marketing for desktop, and that just doesn't happen in today's world. So that's it for today's video. I just wanted to come out and say this real fast about Adobe. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens, and everyone being so energized and getting on social media and fighting for this cause is very noble. And if you can keep that up and get a higher ups reaction, then I might revisit my position. But right now, just some guy, some low level, guy that's checking the user voice forms, that's in charge of it, he's not going to bring any of that up to his team. He knows where it's going to go, and it's going to go nowhere until an actual executive steps in and makes that decision, because it's not a profitable one to make. It would be positioning Adobe for the future, and Adobe is just notoriously horrible with that. If you need any evidence of that, just look to the Flash product and where that went. But that's it for today. It's just, man, I really hope this takes off and keep at it.